Hi, everyone. So for all of the parents out there who are wondering about their second biggest expense in life, that would be college, I want to give you some inside information. I'm Kelly MacLean. I'm the founder and president of the Kelly MacLean Achievement Center. And prior to starting this business 10 years ago, I worked in college admissions for 9 years. And so I'm going to share some inside information. So much misinformation is out there. People often talk about scholarships and, oh, my kid got a full ride. And I would be hesitant when you hear those things because I find that there are more people who are disappointed with their financial aid offers. And so I want to kind of walk you through the steps you need to think about as early as high school freshman year to ensure that second biggest expense in your life, only behind housing, can be more affordable and more manageable for you and your child. So let's start with freshman year. And maybe even sooner. So a lot of schools allow students to take high school classes while they're still in 8th grade. So for instance, maybe your child's on an accelerated math track and they're able to take Algebra 1 as an 8th grader. You definitely want to find out if that grade will be on their high school transcript. You don't want to put your child at a disadvantage by starting out with, let's say, a B, which is a 3.0 GPA, to start their high school GPA, because that cumulative GPA is going to be so important for them when they apply to college. And I'm not saying dumb down the class load by any stretch of the imagination, but you don't want to say, oh, it's okay, you're only getting a B, it's a high school class, you're only in 8th grade. Because if that'll carry over to their GPA, it's terrible when in junior year you realize, oh my gosh, that's the anchor that's pulling down my GPA. So you definitely want to make sure if your child is ready to take that Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, that you have some support. You have some tutoring available, that the teacher's able to do that if that grade sticks onto their high school GPA. So the other thing is in 9th grade, you want to look at the classes you're taking. Definitely stretch yourself in the areas in which you are very, very comfortable. So if your son or daughter is naturally a math and science kid, an honors math, an honors science is appropriate. If they're stronger in English and history, then honors English and history, more appropriate. If they're really good at everything and they don't mind the workload, by all means. But if you know that they're really going to be challenged to commit to that level of work, maybe they're a several sport athlete, maybe they have other interests, maybe they're on a dance team, they go rowing, they have other obligations. You don't want to find out later that they're at a disadvantage for scholarships because they took a heavier class load. And it's really a fine balance because you do want to stretch them. You do want to show schools that they're capable of that heavier class load. But it doesn't need to be across the board. It doesn't need to be honors everything. It doesn't need to be AP this, AP that. You want to pick and choose. You want to do what's right for your son or daughter. And again, if you're considering really, really selective schools, your Ivies, for instance, those schools want honors everything, AP everything, but those schools aren't giving scholarships. Those schools, most people are just writing checks unless they have a need meaning they make less than a certain dollar amount for a family of 4. And so if you don't qualify for that under $75,000 for a family of 4 per year, then you are not going to be getting scholarship money from those Ivies. So you want to look at what other schools would be a good opportunity and really set yourself up for success scholarship-wise. The other thing that colleges love to look at are activities. And I really encourage middle school kids to start getting involved in volunteer opportunities. It doesn't have to be grueling. It doesn't have to be a certain number of hours every week. It could be once a month. They go to the local dog shelter and walk dogs. Especially if they're thinking of a career in something animal related, like becoming a veterinarian. That's a great way to show consistency. They could do canned food drives. They could do other things where maybe they're picking up donations and taking them to a local animal shelter or a domestic violence shelter or something like that. But there's a lot of opportunities out there, even with COVID. Don't be fooled by, oh, everything's shut down, it's COVID. These organizations are still looking for donations, for volunteers, for things like that. And so you want to start early so that your son or daughter knows what they like to do. Because in high school, the friendships, the social aspect, sports, other activities, drama, theater, and so forth, it's really hard to find that extra time to volunteer. But if it's something that they found they really are passionate about or they enjoy doing, it doesn't seem like such drudgery. And if they can commit to a longer term of that volunteering, that really goes a long way with college applications. So you want to worry about grades, that's number one, but then you also need to add activities. And you want your child to be well-rounded, but that volunteer component is really important for schools. They want to know when they're selecting kids into their college freshman class that those kids are going to be getting involved. They're going to do more than just get good grades and go back to their room. They're creating a community environment. And so they want to know that your child will contribute to that community. And the best indicator of how they'll contribute in college is how they contributed beforehand. So starting them off early with this is the expectation. We have to find something you'd like to do and we have to do it consistently. Does not need to be every week. Doesn't really even need to be every month. Maybe it's once a quarter. Maybe there's a bigger event that they want to do, every year. It's an annual event, but that they can contribute to in some other form throughout the year. And I really encourage kids doing some extra things, trying to take that extra class, maybe something in 3D printing, something in art, something in graphic design, something in a science class. Extra activities that, again, stretch them, but also add to the fact that they're not your typical student who just did the bare minimum. College has become really competitive, and I find all the time that families weren't prepared for the expense. Families didn't realize, because they hear the word scholarship bantered around, that it's $100,000 at a state school in most instances. And so you need that scholarship money to bring that cost down. And if you're looking at private schools, you can triple that money very easily. And you want what's best for your son or daughter, and so you want them to have those opportunities. And the best way to set them up for that success is by knowing what the steps are along the way. So grades, definitely very, very important. The next thing is that volunteerism, involvement, participating in several activities throughout high school so that they're well-rounded, they know they're going to come and contribute to that college community. The next thing is testing. And so often we hear, oh, my kid gets great grades and they're just a bad test taker. And I'm going to give you pushback on that because most students aren't really just bad test takers. Most students haven't been taught how to take a test. And so I use the analogy all the time. I have been driving for a long time and I'm a good driver, but if you handed me keys to a stick shift, we are going nowhere. And I've never driven a stick shift, never even tried to drive a stick shift. I know the components, the clutch, the manual and so forth. However, without someone spending time with me, driving with me, kind of helping me feel when to hit that clutch, I am not going to be good at it. I can read a book on it, not going to be proficient. I could read a book on swimming. Unless somebody gets in the water with me and points out things, I'm not going to be really good at it. So I find too often we just expect that our children have been taking tests for years. What do you mean you're not doing well on this test? And I think that's the wrong approach. I think that students have just not been taught how to take a standardized test. They've been tested to death in school. They study information for 7 to 10 days and then they're tested on it. And it's just regurgitating that information. Standardized tests take information from years ago. They put it in very difficult looking formats to see if you can figure it out. It's all about problem solving. And who doesn't want their child to be a good problem solver before they go off to college? So getting your child some help with standardized test taking sophomore year of high school. They should be taking their baseline test at the end of sophomore year. You'll hear people say, wait till the end of your junior year so that you've had all the math you need. I disagree. And here's why. I feel like the sooner you expose a child to something, the sooner they know what to expect. The sooner they know what they need to work on. Also, outside of some math, very small portion of the math, probably about 20 to 25%, your child's already had it all. So if they've had the other 3 sections of the ACT already, and they've already had 75 to 80% of the math, have them take the test. As a sophomore, no pressure, no anxiety. Take the test. Let's get a baseline. Let's see where you're at. And now you know what to expect. You know it is nothing like high school. And now you've got the summer between sophomore and junior year where you could do some prep. You know that you have ample time to test in your junior year before you get to the free one offered in your high school during your junior year by every high school in the state. And that one should be putting it to bed. That should be the easy, it's in a familiar surrounding, you've already taken it twice, you already feel confident, you've prepped, you know what to expect, and now you just knock it out of the park, if you haven't already. And that leads into applying for college in August of your senior year. It is that early now. And so you want to make sure that your child's not at a disadvantage. Students who wait until spring of their junior year for their first test and don't do well are often, they're obligated, they have sports, they have other things, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I only have twice I can take it before I have to apply to college. Their backs are against the wall. So if you start earlier, you avoid a lot of that unnecessary stress. And you just approach it as it's part of life. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what's going on and see where you are. And it's much easier to manage in that way for your child and for you too. Because trust me, I know as a parent how stressful it can be when you know all of these things are coming. So I'm hoping that this timeline, this information on colleges really helps you. I'm also going to tell you, anytime that you are vacationing, anytime you're driving around, drive through college campuses as early as 8th grade. Let your child see how different they are. Don't assume you need to wait till junior year and then just tour the local state colleges, which is great, but there are also some private schools in Ohio that are phenomenal and offer great scholarships to bring it down to the pricing you'd pay in a state school. Also, the difference in state schools, you can take a school like University of Cincinnati. It is not tremendously generous with scholarship money, even if you have great grades and test scores. Take University of Toledo, and you're likely to double the scholarship offer. They're both urban campuses. They both offer engineering programs. They have a lot of similarity on paper. And knowing that you're going to receive double the scholarship offer at Toledo definitely makes it worthwhile to look at if you liked Cincinnati. So really giving your child more to go on and not waiting till that last minute and having them decide on schools based on, well, my friends are looking here, my friends are talking about this school, but where will it be the best fit? We always look at 3 factors. It needs to be the best fit academically, socially, and financially. We work with a lot of high school students and their families to get through this process. And starting early is the #1 factor that helps them increase their scholarship amounts as well as their students' happiness in college. And so I can't stress enough how important it is to start the process early and really set your student up for success. Don't find out too late. And it's always, I wish I would have known. Now you know. If you have questions or you'd like some more resources, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. It's Kelly at Kelly, Kelly for both of them, Kelly at Kelly-Mac, MAC.com. We'd be happy to share some resources with you and help you make the process easier and more affordable along the way. I hope this has been helpful. Again, don't hesitate to reach out.